Tony Gonsolin, it seemed like those first 3 innings when she was perfect, it felt like you just kind of moved in really at a good pace. It seemed like something was different with the back end of this outing.
That's what I saw as well. I thought early on, throughout the majority of the game, command was good, and then I think, I don't know if they were sitting on the split, but certainly the command of the split wasn't, it was all elevated up in the zone, which didn't create any swing and miss or soft contact. They were there were some flares out there, but because it was elevated, allowed for some base hits. And they did a good job of spoiling pitches when he did make some good pitch with the slider, and we just couldn't close out innings. And they did a good situationally today, and we didn't. And so you can poke holes in what Tony did or didn't do, but I think today, across the board, we just did some things that come back to haunt us.
You just kind of reflect on this series as a whole. You're going into an off day, do you kind of have to take a step back and kind of see what, I don't think issue is the right word, kind of what's happening and reassess where this team is at right now?
I think it's obviously when you're not winning games, things get more magnified and understandably so. I think if you look back at this 2-week stretch, there's a lot of things that we're just not doing well, and we're not playing clean baseball, fundamental baseball, and I think it's going back to, not just trying to win, but focus on the little things, catching the baseball, minimize walks, going to the right base, not get thrown out on the bases, executing a pickoff play. Those are things that are coming back to haunt us, and typically we're much better at that. And this last couple of weeks, we haven't been good, and those are things that we have to clean up.
Was it the day, like the play with David and then the ball that Fred couldn't get to back to back that same
Yeah,
inning?
those are things right there that just kind of a microcosm of what we need to do better. You get first and third, and there's a fly ball in foul territory. The ball should go to second base to keep that guy at first base. Freddie's been great defensively, but that's a play we didn't turn. Tony could have been out of the inning. So that ended up costing us. So those are just little things right there, just today, but across 2 weeks. I think that we're all guilty of. We've all been guilty of.
When you are struggling and those things happen, is it harder to kind of move past them and not let it impact the rest of the game?
Well, it just seems like when things aren't going well, they come back to bite you. But I think my job, all of our jobs, is to kind of address them and make them better. You're not always going to play perfect baseball, certainly not from a lack of effort, but when you're not going well, you have to really hone in on things like that to play much better baseball.
Were you okay with David catching that ball on the sack?
Yeah. Trying to get it out, and so whenever we can get it out, we're going to try to take that out.
That's got to the point where we kind of have to address it, or we kind of have to make a point of trying to put a stop to it.
We've talked to guys individually, and again, this is not something from lack of effort, but we just got to be more mindful of thinking ahead and doing things the right way.
Brandon, out of you guys and Steve, what do you think is kind of happening now? I mean, you guys have been sort of kind of been in the back in a sense. Like, what do you think is kind of happening in this stretch for you guys?
That is one thing that we haven't done as far as minimize damage. When there is a run or two across, typically you can kind of keep them at bay and get your offense back on the field, but we haven't done that. And so, like I said, we just got to be better at stuff like that. And also there's opportunities for the offense, even in this stretch, where we can tack on at times, and we haven't. And so to continue to use certain leverage guys when typically we can tack on and create some space, we haven't done that. So I think it's something that we all have to look at this as a team and look at it and say, how can we get better? So telling you the Angels aren't going to feel sorry for us. They're fighting to win baseball games too. So Detmers has got a good arm. We're going to see Ohtani. So it's not going to get much easier.
With Tony, did it feel like physically he might have run out of gas today, those last couple of times to the order, especially when we talked about the recovery between starts?
What's interesting is with him, the last handful of starts, as he's gone deeper into the game, the velocity, the stuff has ticked up. But it's come to the point where he's run out of pitches. But today was probably the first day that I saw that, as he got up a little bit in the pitch count, that the stuff wasn't as sharp. And I say stuff, it was the secondary stuff. The slider didn't have as much teeth as it did earlier, and the split was up, where typically later in games, that hasn't been the case.
You guys are confident still there's nothing physically wrong with it? It's just sort of
I don't think so. I haven't heard otherwise. So even after today's start, Tony felt really good about how his body felt, and he'll get a week, 6 days to recover, and so he should be set to make that next one too.
Was Freddie's wrist okay?
Yeah, he did it sliding at home plate, and it was a little bothersome. So hopefully, I think he went in there for treatment, but he'll be in there on Tuesday.